Welcome to Tuesday night edition of the Final Boss podcast. I just got a notification from one of our streaming platforms. Okay. All right. No problem. Sorry about that. Welcome to Tuesday night edition of the Final Boss podcast. I'm your host, the Final Boss, and that is my other host, Big Mike, the Sensei. Tonight, we have a great topic, a deep topic, a difficult topic that we're going to be discussing. Tonight's topic is going to be on UBI, Universal Basic Income. Tonight's title, UBI, that's the message. And that is the message. So, but before we get into it, I want to thank all of my smarts and the Final Bosses for your continued support. Please continue to like, share, subscribe, and send us stars. And whenever you get a chance, send us some feedback at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's the email. Again, that is info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. Before we get started, one more admin note. Make sure you guys go grab some merch. The merch site is www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word. Thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word. That's the merch site. Go grab you some merch. Be happy with your merch. Man, we have a wonderful show for you tonight. For those who are just tuning in, let me give you guys the greeting because I don't want to miss not giving you the greeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everyone all over the world who are chiming in to our podcast. We greatly appreciate you. And like always, for those who are just tuning in, I have what is called my brass tacks. Brass tacks is a quote from somebody who's relevant, a celebrity, a historian, somebody who is top tier in their business. And tonight's brass tacks comes from Elon Musk. And here it is. I think we'll all end up doing universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. There will be fewer and fewer jobs for a robot cannot do better. Or a robot cannot do better. That is from Elon Musk. And that is going to lead us into tonight's episode of the Final Boss podcast. And this topic we're tackling is bold. It's potentially transformative. There's economic concepts all intertwined into the universal basic income or UBI. And we're going to get into it. Let's start with the basics. So, Sensei, first, how are you? And then second, what exactly is universal basic income?
I am enjoying this life because that's what you have to do. You have to take every moment. You got to take moments in every day to enjoy this life because what's the point of being here if you can't enjoy some of it? Right? So, work hard, play hard. So that's how that part's going.
Mm-hmm.
But UBI, it's not that complicated to understand. It's got a lot of pros to it. It's got some cons to it, but it's a system where all citizens or residents of a country or region regularly receive a guaranteed sum of money from the government, regardless of their income, their employment status, or wealth. Unconditional. You receive it just for being a citizen. So it's not like a welfare program where you have to meet certain criteria, etc. And we're going to get into the details of what some of the pros are of it. Because when I first heard of it, I was super negative about it. And then I started really looking into it and going, you know what? Yeah, it actually has some merit. It really does. You have to look at it from a perspective of what can it do? Not just the negative of how much it's going to cost, but what can it do? What's it provide? So it's not tied to any specific needs or requirements. That's the thing about it. It's reliable, predictable, it's a regular payment. It's like a safety net and economic security. And, like I said, a lot of people, and I myself was included in that, thought that originally it's just a handout. It's another form of largesse. Largesse is when the government gives you more, and therefore you vote for the person who gives you the most.
Mm.
But in our conversations and talking about why we would even consider doing something like this, there's a lot that goes into it.
Okay.
There's a lot, and we're going to explore these in detail, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing is that UBI isn't a new idea. So can we look at the history of it?
Sure. I mean, the concept of UBI has been around for centuries. I mean, long time. And various thinkers proposing similar ideas. Modern discussions gained traction in the late 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is, what did we have happening then? We had the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
Where we had going from farms and farming to manufacturing. And in the late 20th century, when we had all these factory workers, we started to do assembly line work, which meant things weren't built by hand. So the thought was, well, it's going to take these factory workers and put them out of work. Now, it didn't necessarily do that. It just changed the method, changed the style of factory work. But, some famous names talked about this.
Okay.
Thomas Paine talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King Jr. and Milton Friedman all explored variations of the concept.
Okay.
And there's pilot programs that have been implemented, and several countries and regions have tried pilot programs to give us some valuable data on what it could potentially do.
Mm.
So, it's got a lot that we can dig into.
That's interesting.
This is what it can do.
Okay. Do you that's some compelling information. And what that brings me to is, I'm quite sure there are possible arguments for UBI. What are some of the favorable arguments that come to mind?
So some of the things is it can reduce poverty. And you say, poverty and income inequality, you hear about that constantly from your folks who live on the left spectrum of the world, the folks that want the most government. So, and you think, okay, that can be a good thing or a negative thing. And anytime a government program exists, they don't tend to be very efficient. But this is kind of a little bit different, because it's pretty much a safety net for everyone. So it can simplify the welfare system, reducing your administrative costs and bureaucratic hurdles, because what happens if you've got a basic amount that's here, right? And typically you'd be on welfare to get sorted there. So now if you're on welfare, you already have your basic stuff. So it means a lot less administrative overhead for the welfare. And, it's not like welfare has to cover the whole thing. So you're kind of like shuffling the cards around a little bit.
Okay. And
so if you have your basic needs met, and I mean basic, regardless of your employment status, this is the part where it comes to play. Mm-hmm. It's if you have a certain amount of money is going to come in every month per adult. So what does that do? That encourages the nuclear family, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because see, in welfare program discourages the nuclear family. You have to meet conditions. You cannot have a nuclear family and be on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a single parent household. So if it can encourage two parents to raise their children because they have that certain amount of money that comes in. Okay. So what does that do? That encourages you to maintain a nuclear family.
Right.
It encourages you to pool your resources. And you think about this. How many times have people worked a job that was a dead-end job because they couldn't afford to even take a chance or risk the time lapse to get another job? Think about that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're on a job and you need to stay in that minimum wage job just to pay the basic bills, if you had that coming in each month to pay the basic bills, then you could say, hey, I can take a chance. I can take a week to try and find another job, or I can make that leap, or I can, potentially get some additional education or something else. So it would encourage you rather than discourage you to make your position better.
Right.
And that's the thing about it. It can encourage you to be an entrepreneur. Start a side gig, because now you can financially know that I got a little bit coming in that I can invest my efforts into this other thing. Because if you don't have anything, because you're so broke that you can't even, as the old proverbial saying is, I don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of.
Right.
But if you can have a basic form of income, then that tends to make it that you'll take more chances. And now, don't get me wrong. It's not everybody who's going to be wise and do that. But, you think about this. Even if folks get money that comes to them, and we had this happen in the past where, do you remember when we had the stimulus money come in?
Yeah.
Okay. So you had the stimulus money come in, and it was handy money to get because you didn't expect it. And it came in real handy for a lot of folks.
You're right. It sure did.
I mean, really handy. Because it was unexpected. And it was like, wow, that wasn't too awful bad. I could deal with that. So, you can, again, you constantly hear about the workers who are underpaid. Right? This is kind of like a fill in there that will help fill in that. You're less likely to accept the exploitative jobs just to survive.
Right.
So you know what? I can take a risk. I can pursue some education. I can pursue some innovation. I can do some of these things that I couldn't afford to do otherwise. And again, I said the most important factor is that people don't pay attention to is it encourages you by just the nature of it to pool your resources.
Correct.
To live in a single household. Because if you had, as an example, let's say you had grandmom and grandpa living with mom and dad.
Right.
How much resource is that?
Oh, that's a lot, man. Especially with the
cost
of childcare. Hell yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see how it encourages you to have a unified household. This is a part that people don't understand.
Yeah.
And they look real negative about it. It's going to cost, it's going to cost, it's going to cost. Yeah, but the overall long-term benefit, that's a pretty big one. Absolutely. And like I said, I was negative about it. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a mess. And then I started digging into it and doing my homework because I don't believe in what I hear.
Right.
I believe I'm going to do my research and I'm going to find out the truth. And in the process of doing that, I can disprove certain facts and I can prove others. And I actually lean more towards the side of doing this than not doing it.
Right.
And because it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I agree. In the beginning, I definitely was not for it, but after doing my own research, also, I am leaning more towards it. Thank you for that information and those favorable concepts. Now, let's examine the criticisms. I'm quite sure that there's a lot of criticism out there in reference to this topic. You and I both have had those conversations also. So let's dive in. And hey, smarts, if you guys have not been taking notes, my smarts and the final bosses, please take some notes. This is some great information that we have for you, and a huge possibility that we may see this in the future. It's not a may. We will see it in the future. Sensei, do you agree?
Oh, I agree.
That's why we're talking about it.
I think it's inevitable.
Absolutely. And that's why we're talking about it.
We're talking about it. So, and you say, well, why is it inevitable?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at some of the factors that are coming to play right now that we talk about. And I'm not being Nostradamus here. I am not predicting the future. But I see how rapidly our AI is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process of AI, you say, well, what's that? That's just some knowledge. That's fine. But AI is going to fuel automation. And it's not going to be very long before robots can do anything we can do, but better and faster and cheaper. And they work 24/7.
Yep. We have had a lot of conversations about AI on here. And I think we had an estimation that AGI will be in fully established mode in a year.
Oh, yeah.
It's 6 months.
They've
been talking about it. There's a lot of conferences and different information that's out there. Everybody is saying AGI is going full nuclear status in 6 months.
Yep. Not surprised.
Yep.
So that fuels automation. So, you hear about the policies that are going on, and, if you look at it from a neutral perspective, and I'm going to use a term that some people, it polarizes them. I'm using it in a neutral term.
Okay.
Because of what it causes. It's cause and effect. And that is the tariffs. So you hear tariffs and you think it's a bad thing or it's a good thing, depending on your side of the spectrum you're on. I say it's a neutral thing.
Okay.
But what it does is this. The effect that's happening right now are many businesses have already committed to or committing to bringing manufacturing back to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think, if you're old school thinker, oh, that means a lot of factory jobs and a lot of labor for our people to work in these factories. Guess what? Do you think they're going to come back with men running these, men and women running these factories? No, because they can't compete with the cheap labor rates across the ocean. But if you automate, you can afford the investment over the long haul.
Yep.
And a perfect example of the automation is if you've ever been inside of an Amazon facility, how many robots run that place?
I've never been, but it sounds like a field trip.
Go check it out sometime and do the old, what's it look like inside an Amazon facility? Go Google that mess. And it's robots zipping around, packaging and shipping and segregating and picking and doing all kinds of stuff that humans could never do it as fast.
Wow. And they do it 24/7. No breaks.
Of course, that's why you can get stuff delivered the next day.
Yeah.
You don't have a shift where people have to get off work. So what happens is when you see that they're going to have manufacturing come back, yes, it's going to have a short-term impact because of the building of the building. Okay. But once that's completed and you're filling the building, you're going to fill it with machines, not people.
Right.
So therefore, your impact, which you think is going to give you a large influx of jobs for the labor force, not necessarily. It might have an influx for a certain type of worker, one who knows how to run machines and maintain them.
Right. But they can do that remote.
Well, some of it, but sometimes you got to have someone on site to make sure that you can turn the power button off. But what I'm getting at is, don't expect the big splash of massive jobs. No, that's not going to happen. So therefore, when that doesn't happen, what's the next thing that's going to happen? Well, we expected all these jobs and you didn't get them. Well, here's the thing. Retooling of your society is a multifaceted event. Guess where UBI comes in? Helping you to be able to take the risks to retool.
Wow. Boom.
Not
there
sitting
it is.
on the street empty, not being able to change what you're doing. You think that you're going to be satisfied just getting your basic income? Some people are just, some people are just going to be that, but most people are going to be welcoming the fact that they have some money coming in their pocket. They can do other things.
Absolutely.
And you say, well, where do you spend that money at? Where do most people spend their money? Locally.
True.
So if you're spending your money locally, that's good for the economy. So what's going to happen? You're going to rev up the economy.
Yep.
And that's
going to put us in a surplus.
Right. But now we have to talk about what's the cons of it.
Okay.
You have the initial high upfront costs. We know that.
Right.
And you say, well, what is the amount that we're going to talk about amounts in a little bit and how much that equals.
Okay.
All right. You worry about tax increases, inflation, and reallocating existing programs. Well, reallocating existing programs, I don't have a problem with that because we're wasting money in certain programs. Why don't you take that money you're wasting and put it towards something that's going to be useful?
True.
Potential inflationary pressure. Yes, we understand it could raise prices if demand increases. Here's the thing. If we have increased manufacturing through automation, the supply is not going to be diminished. Because instead of producing at 10 widgets for a day, you produce 25 or 30 widgets a day, you can keep up with the supply. So therefore, with the supply is high, the prices tend to stay lower.
Well, automation is running.
Look at eggs. Look at eggs.
Yeah.
When all those chickens got killed and you were running low on eggs, what happened to the prices? It went through the roof.
Absolutely.
What happened to toilet paper when we thought we were going to run out of toilet paper?
It
went through the roof. Okay.
Yep. That's a great point. I went past the gas station today, and gas is back in the $2 range. Now,
well, that's because we're doing additional drilling, additional manufacturing, additional stuff. We're reducing the regulations required to produce the material. Once you reduce regulatory, and you know, people think reducing regulations is bad for the environment. Not necessarily. If it's so restrictive you can't even do anything, that's not good for the environment either.
Right.
You have to find the balance, and you can't find the balance if you're overly restrictive.
Yeah, and paying $5 a gallon is just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So, you know, we're actually, the EPA restrictions on fuel mileage is actually changing also. So there's a lot that's changing. Right. So another thing is say, well, people aren't going to want to work. You know, that's some people. They don't want to work now. So you're not changing those people. So why even worry about talking about them? You're going to have a percentage of your population that are your dirtbags that they don't want to do anything. And I hope I don't hope we don't get censored for this, but you do have a certain class of people in the world who don't want to work at all. And they're going to do anything they can do to not work. And that's fine. They're here today. They'll be here tomorrow.
Yep.
But you can make a difference of people who want to do more or want to try and get ahead a little bit.
Right.
And so they can take that income and try and get ahead. But so it's not going to have a reduced urgency or ambition by that much, not more than it is now.
Right.
If anything, you know, some people say it's oversimplifying. You can't replace services like healthcare, education, disability support. That's fine. You don't have to. It just changes how it looks. Okay? It changes how it looks. It doesn't matter if you're drawing Social Security, you still get it. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you get in another program.
Right.
This isn't for that. This makes a change. So can you have inactivity where you're being rewarded for it? It's not that much money. You're not talking like making crazy money. This is not a lot of money.
It's not six figures.
So when you start looking at all these things, say, oh, well, it's going to stop people from wanting to work, and you know, all these things, it's going to be crazy, problems. You think it's this massive amount of cash that's going to come into people's pockets? It's not.
Right. It's not.
And how many people are on that razor's edge where one little oops and their car breaks and they can't afford to fix their car to go to work? Yes. And how would it be nice to know that I've got this amount of money coming in that I can get my car fixed?
True.
So, and look at the politics of it. It's going to be polarized both directions. But this is where I'm telling people, do your homework and look with open eyes. Don't sit there and act like holier than thou. And I believe that no matter what, we stop all spending and all things. That's fine. But when the money comes into your pocket and you can use it for whatever you want, and if you say, well, I don't believe in it, well, guess what? Invest it then.
Right. That's what I was.
There you go. If you don't want to use it for any other purposes, just invest it then. Shut up and invest it.
Absolutely.
And if you say, well, I don't believe in it, good. Then you can just go ahead and take that money and every month write a check and give it back to the government. They'll take it.
They definitely will.
Okay, then. Yep. If you don't want it, then fine.
Find some dividends. Get paid off of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to, and you can't afford to even tinker with wealth building because you can't afford a couple $100 a month to invest in that. But if you had that money coming in each month, you could split it up different ways. I can put some in savings, which we have a serious depletion of savings in this country.
Yeah. You put a life insurance policy.
You can do a life insurance policy. Yeah. There's so many things you can do.
Absolutely.
To just make your life a little bit better.
Yes, sir.
So, logistics. How do you roll it out? How do you manage fraud? It's really easy. How do you manage fraud? Okay. Tighten your systems, and the people that file their paperwork each year and the people that are proven to be, make sure that you have a higher level to get it. You can't just get it for just walking in a country and you don't do nothing.
Right. You
need to be a citizen of this nation. I'm going to tell you what, that's how you reduce the fraud. Okay. And make it so you got to prove who you are. Look, if you want to go down and you say, well, that's racist. No, it isn't. Do you want to go buy alcohol? What do you have to have in your hands?
Definitely need ID.
You want to go get a fishing license. What do you got to have in your hands?
Also an ID.
I don't care what it is you do in this world. You got to have an ID for every darn thing you do. So don't tell me that's racist, because that's racist.
Right. Thinking
that a community is underserved because they can't IDs, you can get IDs for nothing.
Right.
So don't say that's a systemic racism thing, because that's a load of hokey.
It is.
Because we all have to have IDs. You can't get on an airplane. You can't go without an ID. You can't. There's so many things you can't do without an ID, for God's sake.
Yep, that's true.
All right, so part of your ID is we have a thing in the country that's happening right now that's called Real ID. It's going into effect in the entire country. So it's already here. And what's it do? What's one of the things that Real ID does? It proves your citizenship. So just having your driver's license or your ID is already going to be, within the next year, showing your citizenship anyway.
Yeah.
So there you don't have to worry about people that aren't citizens getting the money.
Yeah.
So that takes that argument out the window. So there's a lot of cons that people are acting about. Oh, it's such a big problem, and how do you do this? Well, there's a lot of things we do in this world that are complicated, and it isn't that hard to figure out. It's not that hard to figure out.
True. So, you touched on a few points, and I was wondering if we can elaborate on, you touched on how automation is going to be transforming the job market. Now, we talk about this all the time. Anytime we have our discussions about AI, we talk about how it's going to change the job market. Now, we're adding an extra variable. We're adding in the UBI concept into this picture. How transformative is that going to be? And you touched on it a little bit, but so I was wondering if we could elaborate on that.
So this isn't a silver bullet, okay? This doesn't solve the problems. This is just a small piece of the puzzle. Look, there's limitations, okay? And the reason why there's limitations are because some of the things that are going to happen are going to be, what about technological unemployment? What about people who are in the technical field who are now unemployed? All right? How's it address that?
Right.
And what good is it for you to go get a job, go to school, if those jobs are already gone?
True.
So, you really got to think about that. So this is where it pays for you to say, okay, if I'm going to go learn, I'm going to learn how to adapt to that environment, and I can retool to that environment. Now, I'm not saying everybody has the capability of doing that, but that's the direction that I think that things might end up going. That it's not a catch-all. It's a supplement.
A supplement, correct.
Treat it like that, not as it can't stop widespread economic hardship. That can
Mm.
happen anyway,
Right.
but it sure can soften the blow.
Definitely.
It can soften the blow.
Yep.
Because what we have to worry about is that right now there's so many people that are less than a paycheck away from being on the street.
Man, it's a
Think
lot of
about
people.
that.
Whew, it's a lot of people like
Just
that.
ask
Man.
that question. How many people are one
Absolutely.
paycheck away from being on the street?
Yep.
So,
One paycheck away. Mm.
so there you are, right?
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with the big issues of the healthcare, Social Security, none of that. This has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Okay. Now imagine you can't afford your meds, because a lot of people can't afford their meds. Now you got a little bit of money that comes into you every month, and maybe I can afford my meds now.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of a difference does it make when you say, well, it's not that much money, but you know, it could be enough, because that little tiny bit could be enough.
Absolutely.
And you say, okay, what, as of 2025, what would be there's 3 layers of this that you could potentially talk about.
All right.
So the first one, he says, all right, we're going to do modest. We're going to go into this real lightweight and small.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to do a lot. We're going to go as cheap as we can do it, just to see how it's going to work, if it's going to make a difference at all. So we're going to do modest level. We're going to call it the starter level of UBI. And that's between $500 and $800 a month per adult. Very, very basic safety net. Reduces extreme poverty. And you say, well, how much is it going to cost to the government? 1.5 to 2.5 trillion a year. Okay, good. It's more politically feasible because it's basic. It's less inflation risk, and it's easier to pilot it. It's easier to get the ball rolling. The cons, it doesn't fully cover your cost of living.
Right.
You're still going to have your folks that are needing welfare. You're still going to have your folks needing the additional supplements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You say, okay, well, what happens if we go the next level? Mid-level.
Okay. What's mid-level?
$1,000 to $1,200 a month per adult.
Okay.
Now here, it's 3 to 3.6 trillion a year, but it covers your rent, utilities, in cheaper regions.
Whoa.
You can't do it where it's expensive.
Oh, flag on the play. What rent? That ain't covering no rent.
Well, where do you live? Where do you live? This is what I'm going to tell you. If you want to live where it's expensive, no, it isn't. So what does it do? It encourages you to move somewhere where it's cheaper to live.
That's true. That's true.
You don't gotta live where it's so expensive, you know.
Look,
not everybody got to be at Taj Mahal.
I haven't thrown a flag tonight, so I saw the opportunity. Oh man. All right.
But there's places that you could afford to at least get basic shelter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying live in a hotel.
Right.
That's not basic shelter. That's expensive. It's like eating fast food. You don't eat fast food if you want to be on a budget.
True.
You go buy your food and cook. That's how you live on a budget.
That's how you do it.
All right. You know, my wife is so amazing when it comes to that stuff. She can buy a chunk of meat, and I look at it and go, all right, that's something. She goes, no. Look at this. And she breaks it down and goes, we just got 5 meals out of that. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I look at it and go, well, that meat costs $35. She goes, yeah, well, you know, that meat there just got us this number of meals. And I was like, whoa, I'm not saying nothing.
Right. So step back. Let her do her magic.
Well, we need to teach our kids in school how to balance a checkbook. We need to teach our kids in school how to budget, how to create a meal plan, how to cook food at home. We need to teach them how to change the oil in their car. We need to teach kids how to do the basics of life on their own.
Right.
So they don't get taken advantage of by McDonald's. All right. The problem is we're so busy teaching our kids about gender identity and all these other crazy things that don't even matter, and core math and core this and core that they don't even get to learn how to read and write, for God's sake. So let's fix the education system so our kids at least have a fighting chance. And then if something happens and your kid is out there in the world, they already know how to make meals. Absolutely. They know how to take that $1,000 and stretch it. They're not going to know that if nobody's ever taught them that. Correct. So it's not sufficient for your high cost areas. It's not enough. Yes, it's going to take some tax reform. And I hate to use the word redistribution, but it is a matter of funding what's important. Okay. So you take things which and I keep going back to tariffs. You need to research tariffs. What do tariffs do to the coffers of our country? What do tariffs do? That money goes into the government, which therefore it can fund these things, so it doesn't have to come out of the people. And we've talked about things like a flat tax. If you buy something, you pay tax on it. There you go. Everybody pays the same. There is no hiding from the taxes, is there?
No. And right now, what are we right now? Quadruple tax?
No. You're closer to 85 to 90% tax.
So we're taxed on the money we make.
Yep.
We're taxed on the money we spend.
And that doesn't count the hidden taxes. All the licenses and registrations you have to have.
Exactly. So when I refer to we're quadruple tax, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But don't forget, if you buy a pencil, every step from the time that pencil was thought of to the time it gets in your hands, every step is taxed, and all those taxes get passed on to you. So let's say that I'm going to buy a head of lettuce.
Okay.
So from the beginning where we have the fields, they're paying taxes on those fields. They're paying taxes on the labor to plow those fields, plant those fields. The water that goes in is being taxed. The harvesting is being taxed. The shipping, the processing, everything about that product every stage is taxed. All the fuel for the tractors is taxed. So all those taxes get bundled into the cost of goods.
Right.
They get passed forward.
Right.
So when that gets passed forward, that means you're paying of a head of lettuce, you're paying 75 to 80 to 90% of the cost of that head of lettuce is a tax in one form or another. So let's look at the real tax. Every driver's license is a form of taxation. Insurance, a form of taxation.
Absolutely.
Registration of your vehicle, a form of taxation. Yep. You're already paying gasoline tax to drive on the roads.
True.
So everything you do is already tax. And I'm going to tell you the worst one that really makes me mad. If you buy a car and you buy the new car, you pay sales tax on that car.
Correct.
And you sell that car, private party or to whoever you sell it to, guess what? You pay sales tax on it again. And you sell that car again, you pay sales tax on it again. Every time that car is sold, there's sales tax charge. Why is that?
Yep.
That to me is loan sharking. That to me is a Ponzi scheme. You've already paid taxes on it. I should be able to take a certificate that says the taxes were paid on this car. I shouldn't have to pay tax on that car ever again.
Yep.
But you do.
Absolutely.
So we've got
it's like property.
Right.
You never own. You own a deed.
You get a certificate of deed.
Yeah.
You don't get the title.
Right.
Yeah, it's called a deed or certificate of deed. You get to buy a car, you own the car, you get a certificate of title. Go pull up a title that you own for a vehicle or trailer. What's it say? Certificate of.
Right.
You don't
own
the
thing.
title.
Yeah.
That's right. If you don't pay taxes, you don't get to keep it. You don't pay tax on your property, it gets taken from you.
Absolutely.
So what we're getting at is just move the tax money around a little bit, and you can afford to do this. But you got to remember now that comes to government corruption, and careful, we can't talk about that too much. So then let's move on to the next one, which is called the high-level UBI. And this is where we say $1,800 to $2,200 a month per adult. Now remember, this is not where you're living in LA or you're living in DC.
Okay.
Where it's super expensive to live. I'm talking about living out elsewhere.
Okay.
The goal here is a full living wage nationally. It costs $5+ trillion a year. And you say, oh my God, it's a lot of money. But it's the pros are you could have a massive chunk of your poverty is eradicated with real economic freedom. The cons are it's going to cause inflation. Sorry, it's going to do it. Massive tax increases or new funding models are needed.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to have more funding to do this. So it's really tough because the economic considerations are varied and great, and I'm not an economist.
What dollar amount did you drop for that? I think I missed that.
$1,800 to $2,200 a month per adult.
Okay. That would help the economy tremendously.
Well, because
people are going to spend.
They're going to spend.
Yeah,
They're going to spend.
They're going to spend. Yep.
Or invest it back into the economy.
Yeah.
Starting a new business.
Yep.
If I can say that I got my rent covered and I got some food and I can now go out and I can start a hot dog stand, I can take risks.
Right.
So there's a lot to it. So I'm not a proponent of the high level. I think that the inflation will get out of control. I think personally the mid-level would be a place to want to be.
Okay.
Because again, what are you encouraging? I want to encourage, and I believe that we should encourage nuclear families. That's the strength of our nation, is nuclear families.
Right.
And if you say you're not held at a disadvantage because you now have two parents in a household, you won me right then and there.
Yeah.
Our biggest problem we have in this country, socially, for our future, to keep us a country that is looked up to, our biggest challenge we have, and this is the biggest challenge, and you don't believe what I'm telling you, look up statistics alone, look up the truth of the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Right. I am neutral here. I am not political in any way, shape, or form of this spectrum, but I'm telling you the disadvantages far outweigh the advantages of being raised in a single parent household. It's huge. And that one thing alone can dramatically turn our tables as far as a nation. Our future can be solid.
Right.
Versus what we have to go through now. Think about this, and don't even think about it from the parent's perspective. You're saying bad things about me as a parent. No, I'm not. I'm saying the children raised with two parents have a way better chance at success in this world. Would you rather have that? I'd rather see that.
Yeah.
And
for my smarts and for my final bosses, each scenario varies.
It does.
So we don't want anyone to take an offense because
because we're not pointing any fingers at anyone. We're just talking
we're not pointing
numbers here. We're
talking numbers. Single parents flourish. Some two-parent households don't flourish. So statistically speaking, the majority, based off the statistics, is the numbers.
It's the numbers. And so there's nothing about you're pointing a finger at me. No, I'm not. Right. I'm saying look at the overall numbers. Look, if you've got 100 people and 85 people do good in that environment and 15 don't, or vice versa, if 15 do good and 85 don't, I'm not talking about your small part. I'm talking about the overall effect.
Right. Overarching.
The big picture. I'm trying to look at the big picture here.
Right.
I'm not looking at my feet. I'm trying to look 5 to 10 years to 20 years down the road is what I'm trying to do.
Now, you mentioned, and I want to piggyback on something you just mentioned. And when you were discussing the last topic dealing with UBI and how it's going to transform the job market. My question is, and you mentioned this, we talked about entrepreneurship. I see how UBI can foster in more entrepreneurs and more innovation. What are your thoughts on that?
Because now you're not so scared that you got to have that very next paycheck. Otherwise, you can't even eat.
Right.
You can take a chance. You can say, you know what? I got this idea. I want to do this thing. Great. Now you can. You're so worried about being able to afford your medication that at 75 years old, you got to go back to work just so you can afford your meds? Come on.
Right.
How many people do you see that had to come out of retirement because they can't afford their medication or they can't afford their health care?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's get real. The reality is there's pros to it, there's cons to it. We're only scratching the surface, but I'm saying you need to look at it from a different perspective. You need to look at this from a perspective of if you had that money in your pocket, what would you do with it?
Correct.
Some people are just going to blow it. Fine. They're spending it. It's going back into the economy. Great.
I'm investing. I'm investing in
all right. See,
dividend stocks and
you're investing in your future.
Policies.
You're investing in your future. But guess what that is? That's for your future. That makes you have a better outlook on this life. It's transformative.
Absolutely.
And when you say, oh my God, the numbers, look, let's get real. The dollars ain't worth what it used to be. So you're all scared about how much it costs to the government. Well, guess who's paying for the government? We are. All right. So you got to look at it from a perspective of is if you don't have it, how you living right now?
Yep.
I mean, I hate to say it like that.
Hey, no, something is always better than nothing. My math works in that manner.
I'm saying little something isn't going to be bad at all.
Absolutely.
And it's not like it's a lot. This is not what I'm telling you. You're not going to get rich on this. This is just a little tiny something which can help you be able to fix your car if you have to.
Yeah.
Keep
Instead of buying one tire, you can buy all 4 tires.
Right. And exactly. And what I'm getting at is, so you're still going to keep working, because if you're not working, then you're worse off than you are right now anyway. True. And who wants to be worse off than they are right now anyway?
Absolutely.
So you can use it to leverage to make yourself a little better, which is going to do what? It's going to help you move in your social class. Right? You can move from below the poverty level and move yourself up a little bit so you can be, shooting a little higher. And I don't know. I just
or you could devise if now we're talking nuclear family, you could devise an economic family plan where everybody's putting money into the pot and making it work for the whole entire family. Absolutely.
That's what did I tell you? It's going to make the nuclear family stronger.
The smarts.
Pull the resources.
Pull them resources.
You say, well, I'm by myself. That doesn't matter to me. Yeah, well, now you got you and another one and another one and another one. You're all living together.
Yep.
Now suddenly what happens?
Yep.
Somebody can afford to stay home and cook the meals that you can save a ton of money on that they couldn't afford otherwise.
Right.
So you stop eating at McDonald's every day, which makes you healthier. Look at the health benefits. My goodness, if you can afford to have a little bit better quality food.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking a lot. And sometimes it only takes a couple of bucks. But if you're looking at every penny and it's a difference between $20 and $30, you'd spend the $20.
You're right.
So here we are. If I can afford to take care of myself just a little bit better, what's that going to do for my healthcare costs?
Yep. Better quality of life.
Better quality of life. So, if you talking to me, if you know me, you know how much I am anti everything, because that's just my nature. And I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic. I tell you what, I don't put a lot of faith in anything. Because I'm super, super, super skeptical, because I want to make sure I know the reality of what's going to go down.
Right.
And in researching this to the level that I've researched it, man, I'm telling you, it changed my thought process. Okay. But then again, I have an open mind.
Right.
A lot of people, their mind is so closed, they only believe what they see on the mainstream media.
True.
So, and I'm not saying mainstream media gets it wrong all the time, but I'm saying 75 to 80% of the mainstream media doesn't quite get it right. So, learn to find your alternative sources and go out there and do your own homework and learn for yourself. Don't be a dummy.
Absolutely.
Be smart. Be
smart. Be a final boss.
And the thing is, you got questions about this stuff?
Yeah.
Send an email in.
Absolutely. Send an email, people. You mentioned in this same conversation, you mentioned benefits of the health benefits.
Oh, yeah.
And how can it improve your health and wellness? How does that impact healthcare, in your opinion?
All right. If I can take care of myself a little bit better, so I eat a little bit better food.
Right.
I can get myself vitamins if I need them. I can get my basic medications if I need them. I don't have to be depending on urgent care or the emergency room for every little tiny thing, because I can not have to go for every tiny little thing, because I'm not going to have those instances happen as frequently.
Right.
You're going to have less health problems if you're living healthier.
True.
And sometimes it's just the tiniest little thing, and it's transformative. That one tiny little thing.
Right.
So I think, my final thoughts on this are, I think we ought to try it, get it rolled out. go in the cheap route, go 5 to 800 a month, just to see if we can make sure that we are properly accounting for the money. Meaning, are the right people getting only it? In other words, you're not claiming 5 different times. You can't triple dip in this mess.
Right.
We need to make it so that it's tight. Which means you can't say, well, I'm going to go in there today, and then I'm going to go in there tomorrow, and I'm going to have all these different names, and I'm all these 5 different people. No, we need to make this stuff. Look, we got technology, for God's sake. Leverage our technology.
Right.
You are who you say you are. You have proven who you are. Good. Now I know you're a citizen in this country, and you can put stipulations to it, saying, look, if you're incarcerated, you don't get that money. Right.
Right.
Sorry, you're paying a debt to society. Society don't give you shit. So you can say things like that to say, look, we're going to make sure that it goes to the people who would need it. I'm not going to give you $1,000 a month to somebody sitting in jail because they were robbing grocery stores,
right,
or selling drugs. No, we're not going to do that. At least I don't think we should do that. But you can do that without making it messy.
Okay.
Some basic common sense. My God, use some common sense. But I really believe we need to leverage AI. We need to leverage our technology, which we have a lot of it, and force people who want to be on this to get this, to prove who they are, who they say they are.
Right.
And then you're going to reduce your fraud. Okay. You're going to reduce your waste. It's going to be efficient. Roll it out small once you know that it's efficient. Right. And you track that efficiently with your numbers to know where you are and how it's working. Dead dogs and people who've been buried 100 years don't get this.
True.
Okay? Your dog and your cat are not people. And then by doing that, you're going to you help. There's so many people that are such a huge percentage of our population that are on that razor's edge, and this could make a world of difference.
You know, I agree, man, wholeheartedly. The rollout sounds very feasible. Start off small, and then once the foundation is established,
you readdress it. You look at the numbers. Where are we at? How's this going? You know, what's the impact? Is it starting to? Is it staying?
Once it stabilizes,
stable? Is it stable?
Right. Once it stabilizes, then you move to the mid grade.
Then you can go to your mid grade.
Yeah. Then you mid grade, and that's what you use to establish it as a foundationary thing.
Right.
That you know.
Think about this. Your kid's getting ready to turn 18 years old. They're going to go out in the world.
Right.
Now, if they knew that they had income, they at least had the opportunity to be able to survive.
Right.
I'm not saying live rich. I'm saying survive.
Survive. Yeah.
I'm not saying go out and buy a brand new iPhone and buy this and buy that and all this wasted. I'm talking about survive.
Yeah.
So that they can get themselves going. You see what I'm getting?
Yeah.
So you're helping so many ways. And I'm not one who believes in a socialist platform. I am not one who believes in more government.
Right.
But in today's world where inflation has outpaced earnings so dramatically that you used to be able to earn minimum wage and have a four-person household with one person working. That's not the case anymore.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is this could potentially help offset that decades, 50 years worth of losing. Yeah. This can help offset some of that. At least
it could bring some monetary economic balance. Absolutely. Balance the sheets.
I think that could help balance the sheets. You are correct. I think that it would be a good way to balance the sheets. And if you to say I don't need it, good, invest it. There you go.
Right.
There you go. And if you say, well, I'm going to just burn it and I'm going to waste it, good. You're revving up the economy. There you go. So, man, you know, we look at how much money has been spent on COVID that we don't even know where it went. At least this money, we would know where it went.
Yeah.
You follow where I'm going with that, right?
Absolutely.
Because COVID money was wasted.
Whoa. You straddling. You straddling. I got shadow banned last week. I can't. I don't want us to get shadow banned this week, man. This is a good information.
Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically speaking, for
entertainment purposes only. I have no proof that occurred. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just the way that I feel that when I saw things happening, that my perspective was that. So I'm just trying to show my perspective. I'm not backing that up with facts and figures. Could, but I'm not. Just saying. Not mean to hurt anybody's feelings on this one. Just saying. And you know, the thing is, it made me really go over the edges when I remember getting the stimulus checks, and I went, you know what? This isn't terrible.
Right.
Because it helped me personally. And I was like, this is all right.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining. Of course, then again, I'm getting old too. So now I'm looking at it from a different perspective too. But if I was 40 years old and was getting this, I'd be investing it. I'm telling you, man, if I was young and I'm out working, man, I'd be investing it. So why? I have a fat, happy retirement. You see what I'm getting at? So don't complain about it. It could help you meet goals that you otherwise never would have been able to meet.
That's true. Very, very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, very true. I think.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, sir. Was that your closing argument? I felt like that was your closing argument.
That was my close.
Okay. All right. Well, wise words.
This
per
old man
usual.
This old man changed his mind.
Hey, wise words from the sensei. Let's give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. To my smarts, to my final bosses, thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Episode number 77. Tune in this coming Thursday, for a special guest episode featuring I like saying the in front of people's names, the Sharon Alston, great friend of mine who has 20 plus years experience in HR dealing with various media companies and media platforms. She has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and she will be here on live this Thursday on the Final Boss Podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed your show. I hope you guys have a tremendous week and are very productive. I hope you learned from tonight's information. We always are going to bring you the most difficult conversations. And I got another hypothetical that I want to bring to the table. I keep hearing conversations about America as a country breaking up into sections.
I heard about that for years.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So, boom. Let's talk about it. That's what we're going to do next Tuesday. We're going to be talking about what if America is not America. That's what we're going to be talking about next Tuesday. Join us then. I'll see you guys also this coming Sunday for our Sunday episodes. And you can catch us here at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, Tuesday, and special guest episode on Thursday. This is the Final Boss Podcast. I am the Final Boss. That is Big Mike, the sensei, who's always have bringing a wealth of knowledge to the show, to the platform, to you guys. And let me see. Go get some merch, right? Go get some merch. Yeah, I don't need to say the merch site. Go get some merch. Like, share, subscribe. Send us some stars. And always be equal. Be smart. I'm missing one. I'm missing one. Why am I missing one?
I don't know. I like to be smart, though. I think that's always
that's the most important, right?
You can't miss that one.
Yeah, right.
You can't miss that one.
Oh man, you can't miss that one, man. Be smart, everyone.
Mhm.
Y'all have a great night, and we love you, and we see you then. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.